Welcome to some new folks. Welcome back to some of you that have been venturing with us as we've been walking about our campus at Hillside Village. I'm a little sad and happy all at the same time to think that we're wrapping up the Walk With Me series that we've been presenting to you folks. But today we're going to focus in on some of the areas of our campus where residents are finding that they're able to satisfy their desire to get their hands dirty a little bit. And so we've got some areas where we have some different types of gardening going on. We're also going to be showing you just some of the ways that our facilities operation is working to beautify the campus as well. So I'd just like to, I skipped right through the introductions. So I'm going to introduce, we have with us today 3 of our residents. We have Judy Palmer, who is the chair of our resident landscape and grounds committee, and Joel Fowler, who also is a part of that committee, and they both, that committee works closely with Andy Kropp, who's our facilities director, and he's here along with Matt Paquette, who is our groundskeeper. So that group is very busy collaborating on some of the current things that are going on with all things green, and then some of the future plans. Jeannie, I'm sorry if are you a part of the committee, or are you kind of a jump in and volunteer where?
That would be my role.
So she's a part of the Fence Painters Club, which you will we'll show you a little later on. So we're very happy to have them all here with us today, and they're going to talk about some of these areas as we move along, and they'll be able to answer questions for you as well. So right now, so we're going to talk about gardening in the present as well as into the future at Hillside Village. And the first area that we're going to take you to is where our resident gardens are located. And so this is the entrance down to where the barn is located. And I know if you were with us before, you've seen this as part of our hiking trail presentation that we did. So I think this is where I'll pause a moment and let you know that these fences that have already been here a while needed a little bit of freshening up. And so that's where Jeannie has been spending some of her summer out painting some of the fences along with another one of our residents. And I think we might have taken out the photo that showed where they actually look to be painted.
Yes. I was going to say, we haven't gotten to that side.
Right. And so we're just going to kind of continue to walk down around behind the barn. We just wanted to show kind of a little bit of the relationship. If you look off to the left in this photo, that would be where the Stonewall Trail is located. So if you were a part of that presentation, gives you a little perspective as to where we're heading. One of the nice things that we have here is we're starting to see more and more benches and picnic tables and areas where people can sit and have a chat. I believe these are apple trees. Please correct me. Thank you, Matt. So a nice row of apple trees that are, I think in these photos, are actually in blossom. And so it's just a nice little walk down to the barn to get to where the gardens are located. We did find some perennials, finding a shady spot as they were waiting to be planted. And so just some ways that we're working toward beautifying our campus, and excited to see where those end up. Or maybe they've already ended up somewhere. I need to go out for a walk and see if they've been planted. So our resident gardens, I'm going to let Judy and the others kind of start to chime in here. We have straw bale gardens currently, which are a temporary measure for our residents to be able to do some gardening. And I'm just going to kind of let you all take it from there.
This was a new experiment for us, thanks to another resident's suggestion and Andy's and Matt's work on this. But there are 10 of us residents that are have a steep learning curve, but a lot of people didn't want to give up their tomatoes from other years. So that's one of the popular plants here. But they're fairly low maintenance, and it's been a great learning experience that involves a lot of people that wanted to garden but needed a little more space and an interesting experiment. Jeannie is one that has some bales here.
So I have some zinnias there. I decided when I moved here that I wasn't going to give up my zinnias. So it's been interesting to see how that works. But I've already picked some of the flowers and trimmed them a little bit, so they're going to grow very big.
And that's Matt in the background working on potatoes.
Yeah. Those are coming along nice too. They look very good.
And somebody's planted pumpkins back there too.
Yep.
How are the pumpkins doing, Matt? I think we took our picture of the pumpkins a little too early.
They're growing fast, believe it or not. They've already sprouted and they're coming along.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Last night's rain helped the straw bales too.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, we need the rain.
It sure did. And so I think that one of the things that would be interesting to people to know is that eventually this area is going to be where we have permanent raised bed gardens available for the residents. So this is kind of a way that we were able to facilitate gardening for people before we got to the really permanent installment. So I don't know, Andy, if there's anything you'd like to add to that, or Matt, but
we certainly will be utilizing those straw bales as a foundation for some of the gardens that are going to go back in there, and gardens can be planned really anywhere, but this seemed to be the best spot. We've got water, we've got the space back there, and if you're looking at this picture, around to the right of it is where the compost used to be for the horses. So there is quite a bit of ready fertilizer, if you will. And we will definitely get to do more with that in the future in that area.
Well, that area is also a place as you look down the hill where you can walk your dog and let your dog off leash, which is a great area to walk on.
How many residents, Jeannie, have dogs here? Quite a few.
Oh yes, I think over a dozen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All sizes.
looks some nice looking tomato plants there, right? I shouldn't show off my lack of knowledge about the garden.
That's a good view of the dog walk field on the right there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was something that was very important. We realized, I think, pretty early on after we started to move in here, as folks were asking for an area where they could let the dogs have a little more exercise, a little more activity. So it's worked out very nicely that we've been able to provide that.
This was a bird feeder that an avid birder here, resident, wanted to put up, and she's taken good care of it. She wanted to have it near the barn so she had a place to keep her seeds. And she has, on our campus, she has identified more than 25 different species of birds. It's a wonderful wetlands area, and we've got some avid birders here that are much more experienced than I am, but there are several bird feeders, including hummingbird feeders.
Mm-hmm.
And Tracy, maybe you were going to talk about how our woodworking residents built these 6 bird houses that are around our campus, including 2 behind the health center.
Right, right.
And they have birds in them.
They do, they do.
It's fun to walk by them.
I think that's one of the really, just one of many, many wonderful things about what we have happening here at Hillside is all of the different interests and groups kind of feed into each other. You know, the woodworkers being able to build the birdhouses, which is great for the birders, and we're talking about pollinator garden, and we have a couple birdhouses over near the hiking trail. So I just think it's nice how these kind of all tie together, and there's something for everyone, really, is what I love about it.
The woodworkers have built some benches, a couple benches for around the campus too.
Yes, right. So another thing that we, have around the campus is flower beds. And, some of these were, we had the areas for these from the moment we opened our doors, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're where we plan for them to be. There's some plans for enhancing and adding to and establishing maybe some more formal gardens in some areas up near the entry of the community center. But we have some good things going on right now. I happened to be outside one day when Matt was mulching, and I was absolutely amazed at how meticulous you were, Matt, with the mulch. And there was a lot to be mulched. So it's all looking really, really nice.
Mulch too. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I got those.
And so those are gardens that are maybe maintained a little more by Matt as the groundskeeper. But then here's one, Judy, that you, the landscaping group has been kind of looking after.
A resident planted these, and a couple of us are trying to help to maintain it. Mm-hmm. Yes. And Matt is put in a peony support.
Yeah, it was getting over. I felt like I needed a stake to hold up the flower for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice. Just another view of that garden. And this is just this particular area. This is down at our Woodside apartment building, which we haven't really focused on at all in our other presentations. And so the layout of the first floor with the porches maybe just looks a little bit different than some of the others you would have seen at this point. So there's some nice areas out by those porches where some plants have been added. And then we have a number of courtyard areas with, of course, young trees. I know some of our residents have kind of taken it upon themselves to do some planting around some of the trees and just kind of enhance those courtyard areas between apartments as well. And then this is an area in particular that I know, Joel, you've had some impact on over in your neck of the woods.
And yeah, Joel's done a lot of watering there too. Facilities has been very helpful in trying to get water up there in these dry times. And residents have done some of the help to try to help with some of the watering.
I had made a comment about the clover and how I didn't want to maybe focus on the clover, but then I think we all probably could say that's about the only thing that we've had growing in our lawns recently because of the lack of rain. So hopefully that'll turn around a little bit. Planters is another thing that we wanted to talk a little bit about. I think one of the nice things that happened this year, and I don't know, Andy, if you would want to add to this, was due to the fact that people weren't able to go out and about and visit all of the greenhouses and gardening centers locally, Andy was able to work something out where we residents were able to order through him. And so we had annuals that actually were delivered to our loading dock. And so those were used in a variety of ways.
I bought two balcony tomato plants, and I probably have 10 green tomatoes now, with hopes for next month.
No, I think that's one of the nice things about some of the balconies. It's a wonderful place to plant. They get great sunshine, and so a lot of residents have plants out on their balconies.
I'm just going to flip through a few of those annuals and things that had come in. It was quite a sight to behold out on the loading dock when everything first arrived. It was really, really pretty amazing. And I think it was a nice it was just really nice that everybody was able to get what they needed, whether they wanted to plant pots or, you know, some of the things you've already seen around the trees and such. We have urns that Andy and Matt have planted near our entryways, different entryways into the community. So we have a lot of different ways that the plants are being used, and by residents for their own purposes, and, you know, having that satisfaction of gardening and getting your hands dirty, but also just for beautification of the property.
The modem from Spectrum is getting
It's a busy place down there. The urns are really looking really nice out by the front entryway. I think this might be an urn down at Woodside. This. And then some of the things that the residents have been doing at their apartments as well. So kind of nice to see. So another nice little thing that we have been able to do, and I know Matt has been very instrumental in making this happen, is our kitchen garden. And so I know that the chef and Kristen, our food and beverage director, had expressed to Andy that they'd like to be able to have fresh herbs and fresh produce that they might be able to use to incorporate into the meals that are available here for residents. So Matt, you pretty much set this one up, right? And got it all going.
Yep. So as you can see in the first bale right there, we got some lumber all around it. We plan on doing that with the other two. That lumber was donated from a man up in Leominster, New Hampshire. It came right from his farm. It was milled there himself. And Chris did the handiwork by building those boxes. And they are coming along great. I'm super happy about them.
The idea of the straw bales too is as container gardens, which decompose over the course of a season. So an advantage, I think, of this will be that this can be used other years, since it was enclosed now with wood. Yep. For future such straw bales or raised beds.
I happen to really like the kitchen garden because it's right outside my office window. So I love looking out there and seeing the progress of the plants. And it's just I just love it because it's really just feet away from the kitchen. So they really can just pop out and, you know, when the plants mature, they'll be harvesting all kinds of good. You can't really get any fresher than that.
we got basil and cucumbers, tomatoes, eggplants, cilantro and parsley. Yeah, a little bit of everything's going on back there.
And I was noticing, and I'm kind of assuming in some of this as we scroll through some of the flowers, and I noticed some of the hanging baskets. I'm assuming that's going to help with pollination and help the harvest. Yay! Yep. There's your eggplant. And this is it was a little bit of a joint venture too. We had a resident or two that helped plant with the planting of this, right?
Yes.
So, you know, it's everything's collaborative here, which I think is a really nice thing. There's participation as much or as little as people would like to do. Just some scenes of kind of the finished product, and that we'll be composting. Nothing's going to go to waste here. So. Another really nice feature we have here is our greenhouse, which is a really, really warm, inviting, beautiful space that a lot of people are participating in. I know a lot of people's indoor house plants and balcony plants came to the greenhouse for the winter, and they were, people could tend them you know, to themselves, or we have a group of people who are happy to do that. I took a sick plant down there at one point in time, and they nursed it back to life for me. So it's a lovely, lovely space.
And when some residents go away for a couple months in the winter, they're able to leave their things in the greenhouse, and some other residents help to take care of them.
It's also a nice place to just go sit. There's a rocking chair, a couple chairs there. It's a nice place to go sit.
And there's a teapot in there and tea. So you can go make a cup of tea. And I keep saying I want to go do that. I haven't done it yet, but. And then Andy, you mentioned something to me yesterday, something the woodworkers are going to be doing in that space.
Yes, sir. Jacques is going to be building a bench where that table is. There's that one table there.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the picture. Yep, right there.
Mm-hmm.
Along that wall, there'll be a bench along that entire wall, or mostly the entire wall.
Is that for plants, Andy, or for sitting?
For plants.
Plants.
And we're certainly going to need more, because we just did get a few more in.
Mm-hmm.
And
I might also point out in that photo, back in the corner is our soapstone sink. I didn't have a more recent photo included, but that soapstone sink is now installed, and it's used as a potting sink, really. And it's beautiful. And that was from the property here, from one of the buildings, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Yep, it was from the farmhouse.
Oh.
So this, yep, sorry, Judy.
I have to blurt out that is, those are some geraniums that belong to a resident and were kept in the greenhouse in the winter, and have a summer home out on our bridge leading out to our meadow walk now.
Judy, those were her grandmother's.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they've been passed down generationally to her. And when she came to live with us, she wanted us to go, and we went and actually dug them out of the ground and brought them here to Hillside.
That's great. I didn't know that history.
That brings up a question, Andy. Don't we have several plantings on the campus, don't we, that might have been brought from people's homes and
some individual things? Yes, folks have brought in and stuffed in the ground somewhere. Joel, did you do that, Joel?
No.
No? I know you and I had talked about it at one point.
Right.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
So this next section kind of ventures away from traditional, when we're talking about growing and gardening. You know, we talked about, or we'd like to talk about growing at Hillside, kind of growing your own future here. And so this next group of slides kind of gives a little bit of a glimpse into other ways that people are growing and thriving at Hillside Village. You know, maybe gardening isn't everybody's thing, or maybe hiking or some of the other things we've talked about aren't, but there's a lot to do here, and there's many different levels of involvement. You know, the people are free to do, you know, whether they want to or not. So that's what this next section talks about. You know, our emphasis here is really on total wellness. It's a part of the idea of being in independent living and staying in independent living for as long as you can. So with that said, if our residents have anything to say about any of these next things that are going on, please feel free to jump in. I think we might see a few of your pictures in here as well. So, but I'm just going to kind of scroll through them. So talk freely about them. Oh.
There's Joel.
I see Joel over there. Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice to have fitness so close by. You don't have to get in your car and drive to the Y or anything. It's just very, very nice. And you can try it. No obligation to keep going day after day, but learned a lot of new things.
And we have a very wonderful fitness director who has been, during the pandemic, has been leading us in exercises on our balconies or on Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't, just because we haven't been able to use the fitness rooms doesn't mean we haven't been able to keep the fitness thing going, just in a different way. And she's been amazing, ball of fire. So we've talked about our woodworkers many times throughout these presentations. And so, you know, I think it's definitely important to point out their space. They're over in the barn. They have actually been creating that space and making it happen over there. It's a very ambitious group of individuals, and it's been fun to see that evolve.
Well, and it's nice that it's open 7 days a week. People go over on the weekends to use the equipment, and yeah, it's been wonderful. Men and women.
I want to know who put, I think that's Mike.
It is Mike.
Put Mike in jail.
It looks a little like that, right? Yeah, so if you didn't pick up on, the woodworking shop is in the barn. And they're utilizing some of the stalls, and it's a beautiful barn it's a really, really nice space for them. So yeah, I think they were maybe goofing around a little bit one day when they were working over there. So the pool is a popular way that people are being involved.
But you can also go down to the pool. That looks like Gretchen Nato is teaching a class, but you can also go down and just swim on your own, which is very, very nice. It's open all day long, at least before the pandemic.
Right.
So the pool is a, if you live in a city, it's lower in chlorine than your drinking water. It's a special filtration system with ultraviolet light and CO2 injection. So it's extremely, extremely low, 1 part per million of chlorine. And it's a very nice pool.
The temperature.
That was a qualification for me to find a place to move that had a pool.
Right.
And it's been really wonderful for swimming laps.
So we have a space in our Woodside apartment buildings called the Great Room, and so that's the space here. I know we have a number of different types of groups and clubs and social gatherings that happen in that space. It's just a lovely, lovely room. I know we have, I don't even know, a mahjong club. We have a group of gentlemen that get together and play poker, and we have bridge clubs, and I think our hiking group meets there, the trails group meets there. So there's a lot of different things that go on in the Great Room space. And I think the library is another space that it's not just a library. It serves a lot of different purposes. We have a knitting group that meets in there. A lot of, I don't think there's a day that goes by under normal conditions where, you know, I don't see 2 or 3 people sitting to read the newspaper. Puzzles.
We have some very fine artists here too. And Hillside Village has a small display as this current week, or maybe it ended last week, at the Keene Art Walk on Main Street.
Another thing too that I would mention here is we have a very active arts committee, and the arts committee had planned, we were going to have our first resident and staff art show this past April, which of course we weren't able to have. However, we have a resident that has turned the offerings into a YouTube presentation. So if it's not already there, it's going to be on our YouTube channel. So something to look for there. Beautiful, beautiful contributions. We have many, many talented residents and staff alike. Very, very nice.
And many of our resident artists have their works up in our hallways,
Right.
or they've donated their other art for that.
So if you haven't had an opportunity to visit here in person yet, you wouldn't have seen this space yet, our Performing Arts Center. A beautiful space. We use it in so many ways. I know, Jeannie, you're a part of the Hillside Voices.
Yes, whatever.
Singers.
Well, you know, I was in my chorus in high school. So you always look back and think, oh my goodness, I have the best voice in the whole world. And this is my opportunity. Well, it's not quite the same as it was 70 years ago or so, whatever. But Jean Nelson leads the singing group, and it's just full of fun and full of songs that we all know. We're not singing any of the modern day songs, and it's a fun group to be part of. A good way to meet people.
And so we have our own, versions of entertainment, whether it be the singing group, the choir. We have some folks that come in and lead line dancing. So we'll often have a line, just so the photo on the left, Chuck and Janet are doing some line dancing there. That's a lot of fun. We also have outside groups come in and perform and do concerts and presentations. This space has a big movie screen that drops out of the ceiling, and it's just a really flexible, amazing space. Really, really nice. And then, of course,
this was the original Resident Advisory Council, and there's our Executive Director, Jolynn, in the white.
Right over here.
Our youthful Executive Director. And there's Joel at the end, me. And this is one way that residents can stay active too in making connections with our management team here.
Yeah, we actually have a resident liaison committee that is connected with every different area of the community. So whether it be administration or marketing or facilities, there is a resident group that we work with and consult with, and they help us out. And it's a really, really nice collaborative effort. This is just some examples of some other groups that people are a part of, whether it's a card group or a coffee group or a Bible study, or just lots of different ways that people are connecting and growing and participating. And these look familiar if you came to the hiking presentation out on the trails. And in the meadow. I think that's Doug down in the corner there. I think he would say he's grown in just with the amount of music that he plays now in this community. Plays
right
very frequently.
He's a former head of the music department at Keene State College.
And then there's so much more that we would love to show. There's always more. So coming up in August, we're going to have another virtual event series. We're going to be giving you a look kind of behind the scenes, how things work at Hillside Village. We're going to be doing 3 different presentations in August. We're going to take a look at our facilities operations. So we'll have Andy back with us to kind of take a look at some of the ways that things keep running smoothly here. And dining services is going to be involved, and we're going to show you, how they keep this all going. They are making a lot of meals in a day and feeding a lot of people. So it's really amazing what they are able to do. behind the scenes. And then we're also going to show you an inside look at our health center and some of the ways that they do their jobs every day, and how we're connected, and some of the things that you know, that residents in independent living use, and then in the healthcare center as well. So we hope you'll be able to come back and join us again in August for those. And then we saved our little surprise here for the end. So this is a fun little surprise yesterday, Andy. So we had a wonderful thing happen at Hillside Village this week. Actually, I don't know when we got the phone call. Was it last week? It kind of happened out of the clear blue sky, right?
Yes, it did. A call came in from the folks that are at the Grange down in Keene, and they're doing away with their plant program. They had these all throughout the building, and Matt and I went down yesterday, and Chris as well went down, and they gave us all these plants. So we have certainly a wonderful space for them in many different areas, and we'll be able to spread them around, not only in the community center and the independent living area, but also the health center, and some in Woodside as well. So it's going to be fun. We'll be able to green up the indoors even when it's white outdoors, and be able to move them around and keep them as healthy as we can. Some came a little hurt to us, so I've just ordered new pots and new soil and fertilizer and things so that we'll be able to nurse some of these back to health as well. So it's going to be a really nice addition to the community.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it just, I wanted to take pictures all day long. It's like a jungle out there. Do you know how many plants, Andy? A lot.
Matt, Matt and I are thinking about 80.
Okay.
All different sizes, shapes, varieties.
I think our greenhouse group is going to be very excited. If they don't already know, they're going to be amazed.
They're nice in the pool area too. There are already some residence plants there.
Sure.
So this is the point where you can unmute yourself if you like, if you have any questions to ask us. I know what we showed you today had a lot more variety to it, but I think it's a really, really good overall look at how we are growing, and we're growing things, but we are also growing, and we'd love to answer any of your questions. Don't all talk at once.
I did. Yeah, you may have to unmute yourself. I know
okay.
everyone is unmuted, but.
So Joy has unmuted everyone. There's a couple of you that are still on mute yourself if you want to, if you want to speak. We can't hear you, Julia.
How's that?
Yeah.
There you go.
I really enjoyed your presentations. I've seen 2 or 3, and I was able to visit you a year ago. I live in Brattleboro, and so I appreciate being able to have access to Hillside this way, since we can't visit. And it's really been great, the combination of your leading as a marketing person, but also so many of the comments by the residents, which really give me a flavor of the community. It's lovely. Thank you.
I think the bottom line is you can grow just the way you want to grow here. Nothing's forced on anybody to do anything. And you can explore things you've never done and decide, okay, so I'm glad I know what that's about, but I don't want to do that anymore. And I'm going to go over here and do this. And so, yes, I think that's the wonderful thing, that, and it's all within walking distance.
Well, so that's it. That's the third of our 3-part series. So, but we're not quite ready to say goodbye yet. So we'd like to invite you back one more time. Next week, we're going to have a virtual coffee hour. Now, it'll be on Tuesday, so same day of the week, July 7th, but it's at 9 a.m. So, and if you're interested in attending that, we'd love to have you. Let us know by email or phone, and we'll sign you up, and we'll send you a Zoom link again. We've invited all of the residents and staff who've been a part of the series, the Walk With Me series, to come back for that if possible, so that they could be here just to chat. It's really informal. We've done one of these already. It's a really nice way for you to be able to just chat with our residents. Marketing, we just kind of sit back. We don't, it's not about us telling you things. It's about you getting a chance to have your questions answered by people who live here and really know what's going on. So we'd love to have you come. And as always, if you have any other questions about independent living or assisted living or memory care, we'd love to chat with you. So we hope. And that's it. Thank you for coming. It's been nice seeing everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Be well.